Right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to Breckland Council full council meeting on the 14th of December. The meeting is now being recorded. Before I ask Julie to do the roll call, it's that time of year, as you know, and I feel we should have a moment of reflection. As we approach the festive season, I would like to share with you a moment of reflection and prayer. No matter your faith or no faith at all, please join me in this moment of reflection, please. Let us take a moment to reflect on and hold our thoughts. Our Breckland councillors and officers guiding our community with understanding and dedication. The broader Breckland community where unity and support strengthen us all. Those facing adversity, especially those who may feel alone during this Christmas season, may they find comfort and companionship. Those impacted by conflicts in various parts of the world, including the Middle East and Ukraine, may peace prevail and healing embrace those affected. Our brave armed forces stationed away from their families, serving across the globe, may they be kept safe and return home to their families soon. Our emergency services who selfishly protect and aid our communities, ensuring our safety and well-being. In this moment, may our collective thoughts bring comfort, strength, and hope to all those mentioned. Lord, hear our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please, Julie?
Councillor Ashby.
Present.
Councillor Askew.
Present.
Councillor Atterwill.
Present.
Councillor Bambridge.
Here.
Councillor Bate.
Here.
Councillor Annie Blackburn.
Here.
Councillor David Blackburn.
Yes.
Councillor Borrett.
Present.
Councillor Bowes. Councillor Brindle. Councillor Marion Chapman-Allen.
Here.
Councillor Sam Chapman-Allen.
Present.
Councillor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Clausen.
Here.
Councillor Cogman. Councillor Cowan.
Here.
Councillor Crane.
Present.
Councillor Duffield. Councillor Eagle.
Here.
Councillor Fraser.
Here.
Councillor Gilbert.
Here.
Councillor Harvey.
Present.
Councillor Hewitt.
Here.
Councillor Jermy.
Here.
Councillor Kiddell. Councillor Kiddle-Morris.
Here.
Councillor Kybird.
Here.
Councillor Land.
Here.
Councillor McCambridge. Councillor Monument.
Present.
Councillor Morton. Councillor Nunn.
Morning.
Councillor O'Callaghan.
Here.
Councillor Oliver. Councillor Plummer.
Here.
Councillor Richmond. Councillor Sherwood. Councillor Suggett.
Present.
Councillor Samantha Taylor.
Here.
Councillor Sarah Taylor.
Here.
Councillor Taylor Taylor. Councillor Terry. Councillor Thurban. Councillor Turner.
Here.
Councillor Webb. Councillor Wickerson.
Here.
Councillor Wilkin.
Here.
And Councillor Wilkinson.
Here.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I have apologies received from Councillor Cogman, Councillor Duffield, Councillor Kiddell, Councillor Oliver and Councillor Terry.
And Councillor Brindle.
I would receive from Councillor Sherwood. Apologies, please.
Thank you.
Any other apologies? Okay, thank you. Thank you for getting my microphone. Strange for all these years. Okay, item 2, the minutes. I've been informed that there is just one small amendment to make to the wording under the minute 85/23, third paragraph from the end of that particular minute to read, Councillor Crane was familiar with the report, but would find out further information and respond to Councillor Clark. So subject to that amendment, are members happy and agree the minutes, and they're happy that I sign them?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Where are they? I was waiting for them to be handed.
Sign the minutes.
Yeah. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do members have any interest to declare? None? Okay, thank you. Item 4, Chairman's announcements. I would just like to say a big thank you to Breckland, all Breckland staff. They did donate their staff awards charity evening raffle to my charities, and that was a sum of £640. So I'd like to thank every member, every officer, every member of staff in Breckland, and in particular extra thanks to Amelia Knapp, Megan Free and Jordan White, who organised the raffle on the night. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. I also held a coffee morning at the only public house called the King Charles III, which is in Spall. And we had a coffee morning there, and we raised £775 for my charities. And I'd like to thank members, Councillor Morton for supporting, supplying cakes and a raffle prize, and also Councillor Wilkin for his generosity of buying loads and loads of raffle tickets, and he won the luxury hamper in an auction of £100. So really appreciate you support Councillor Morton and Nigel, Councillor Wilkin. I would also like to say thanks to Gabby, one of our community enablers. She didn't only just engage with members of the public in supporting me, but that was big support to Breckland Council too. And obviously I'll take this opportunity as well to thank all officers for their work this last year in supporting all us as members. Without the officers, we couldn't really function as members, to be fair. So thank you to everybody, every officer in Breckland Council. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Item 5, leader's announcement. I'd like to invite our leader, Sam Chapman-Allen, to make his announcements. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Chairman, and a lot of what you said in your opening prayer and reflection has been picked up in my leader's statement today, so I'll try and be brief. But members, I warmly welcome you to our last council meeting of 2023. The Christmas season is now upon us, and a time for many of us to look forward to spending time with family, friends, enjoying the festivities and possibly eating our body weight in mince pies, turkey, Brussels sprouts and everything else. But for some, it isn't always a happy and joyful time. So for us who have the opportunity to cherish it, we must make sure we do so. But in turn, as the Chairman said in his opening remarks, it is a time for us to reflect and think of those less fortunate than ourselves, and ensuring that we're keeping those people in our thoughts and doing everything we can to support them, whether it's those individuals within our community, those in the Middle East, and our Ukrainian friends who are once again spending another Christmas away from their homeland, and to ensure and reaffirm to everybody that Breckland will always be a supporting and compassionate council looking after those who need it most within our community, whether that is around warm homes and our community health workers, whether it's our Mindful Towns programme, whether it's our social housing activity across the district or our business support. We will ensure that Breckland is a place where residents and businesses can thrive. But as you look forward, beyond Christmas and into 2024, we once again have another packed year ahead of us. And one of those opportunities and challenges will present us. And I want members to look ahead and remember that regardless of those challenges, we deliver as a council across the political spectrum meaningful change for residents and businesses. We provide that vital support to inspire our communities and help our businesses. We work smarter, embracing innovation and taking brave steps so that we can deliver the services our residents and businesses deserve, whilst recognising that changing and challenges for districts across the country, not just in Breckland, and we must face them all together. Whether those opportunities in the new year brings, whatever the opportunity in the new year brings, we will ready to seize them together as Team Breckland. Whatever those challenges for the new year brings, we have the tools to tackle them as we move ahead. And Chairman, I want to thank all members of this council, officers, our partners, the voluntary sector, residents and businesses for all the work they do day in, day out to make Breckland such a special place. And may I take this opportunity to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous and happy New Year. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for that, Leader. Item 6 on the agenda, questions on notice, understanding order number 6. The questions, together with the responses, have been published prior to this full council meeting as a supplementary paper to this agenda. And any follow-up questions can be asked under agenda item 7. So I will now move on to item 7 on the agenda, questions under standing order number 7. Questions are directed to the leader or relevant portfolio holder. So I would like to start and invite the leader of the main opposition Labour Party, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman, and can I just perhaps take the opportunity to add my thanks to all the staff and officers at Breckland and endorse your sentiments, and also the leaders as we look forward to hopefully an optimistic but also a challenging year in 2024. My question is directed to the Cabinet member who deals with property and land, etc., Councillor Hewitt, and this is in relation to the disposal of small sites. The term community value has been used as one of the criteria in how sites will be disposed of. He may need to write to me. Can he advise what this actually means and how this will be judged? And is the pound sign the deciding factor? Because we know, obviously, that the council is loath to give land away, free to anybody. I say that tongue-in-cheek. This is particularly important to many residents, he knows, and particularly as the government has now, I noticed, scrapped the requirement to have green open spaces within over 15 minutes walk. In addition, the Breckland Design Guide, which is very good, also talks about, in terms of new developments, but the same criteria applies, is having spaces which are local for residents where they can walk the dog, sit on a bench outside, older residents, but not exclusively so. So I've got that in mind at the back of my question. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. Happy Christmas, Harry. Your question is it's got many parts to it, so I'll answer as many as I can. I mean, the first is some of the elements of your question will be explained in more detail in the all-member briefing that follows this meeting right now. The second part of your question, and I will answer this in the order they were given, pound signs are not the deciding factor when we dispose of land. There is a requirement under the Local Government Act to get the best consideration that can be reasonably obtained, and consideration does involve a financial value, but equally we as a council seek to offer best value to all of our residents wherever they might be. We are aware that some land that we own is in towns, and we have to be very clear that as a district council, we want to make sure that we share the benefit of land, whether it be through ownership within the town, whether it be use within the town, or whether it actually be wider for the benefit of the whole of the district. We have to use a district overlay as well as a very specific location-based overlay all the way. You mentioned that we're loath to give land away for free. We do transfer land, often at nil value, but where we can, and I believe it's a fair judgment call to make, where we can, we will, for the benefit of all Breckland residents, make sure that there is some type of cash or some type of transfer value, particularly where a parish or a town council has the capacity to buy that land for the benefit of that town, therefore perhaps more to the exclusion of wider residents within the district. But the third element, which I think is quite key, we do lay out a process very clearly that has been explained to members within this chamber, which is our small sites disposal programme, which in turn is overlaid with some of the work that we carry out within Breckland Bridge. The small sites disposal programme has been available to members for over a year now, and it's on our website that lies out exactly the consideration that we have wherever we deem land surplus to our requirements. And that process does involve consultation. It does involve actually a process that says, is land best kept by us as a district for the benefit of everyone in the district? Is land best placed actually more in terms of local communities who might best exploit the value of land for community use? Or is land, as one of the options, perhaps best shared for the benefit of all of the community for building purposes? But we are very clear that that process isn't driven by pounds. There is more value than just financial value within that process, and that process is explained quite clearly in our small sites disposal programme shared by all members. But I am hopeful, if you stay after the mince pies after this meeting, that actually any questions that individual members might have in terms of that process in a bit more detail, as well as our overall work within our land holdings within Breckland, will be explored in the all members briefing afterwards. Thanks, Harry.
Councillor Atterwell, have you a question, please?
Thank you, Chairman, and could I take this opportunity to wish all members and staff and your families a very Merry Christmas and a peaceful New Year. I'd just like to say in my thoughts are those councillors who are suffering ill health and have perhaps suffered a bereavement this year and may find this time of year particularly difficult. I'd just like to say they're in my thoughts, and I hope that they have as good a Christmas period as they possibly can. I think we can all agree on that. My question is for the leader. Merry Christmas, Sam. This week, Norfolk Conservative-led Norfolk County Council has approved a devolution deal for Norfolk at the behest of the government. In your capacity as leader of our council and also chairman of the District Councils Network, can you please advise me why this is such a good deal for Norfolk?
Merry Christmas as well, Roger. It's been open and transparent, the process the County Council have undertaken. The stewardship from the leader of the council and her team have gone around to all councils and given a briefing, and I know that the chairmans previous of the Oven Scrutiny have summoned them to come to our Scrutiny Commission to understand what the Devo deal looks like. As presented to the Cabinet last week and to Council this week, and the decision made is around that ability for Norfolk to decide how that money is spent, rather than that continuous bidding process. And the model for the portion of that money is replicated to any of those combined authorities located in other parts of the country, Andy Street, Andy Byrne and Ben Houchin, etc. From my perspective as a district leader, I'm pleased that we're still working with the County Council council leader and other leaders across Norfolk to refine that governance model and what the final position will be for that when that's taken to council in July of next year for the county council. My concern and frustration, which I've responded to from your questions and Councillor Jeremy's previously, was to ensure that district councils have a strong voice. And on a national platform, I've advocated that district councils need to be constituent parts of any devolution deals. That wasn't the view held by the Secretary of State, and the deal proposed didn't allow for those opportunities. However, I believe that the county leader will do everything in her power to negotiate further with government to ensure that any governance structures moving forward will allow districts to have the biggest voice possible. Why is that important? I know that you are asking me, because we are the Housing and Planning Authority. And for any of us to be able to grow ourselves out of the challenge we face, any of us to be able to provide the homes which our residents quite rightly need in the right place, district councils have those statutory levers and therefore must be around that table to help guide and influence and shape not just what the county looks like, but more particularly what every single one of our fantastic market towns and villages look like across the district of Breckland.
Thank you, Leader. Any other questions from individual members? Councillor Gilbert.
It's working. Didn't work very well yesterday. And obviously a very Merry Christmas to one and all, and I hope you and your families have a nice, peaceful and restful time. I hope there's a question for the leader. Would you join me, Sam, in congratulating and thanking the officers who responded to the incident on the border of Watton and Carbrook recently, which we originally thought might be an unexploded bomb, but turned out to be somewhat smaller but still dangerous, a phosphorus canister. I know it's crossed the border, and I know Carbrook were involved, and I have a family who I know who live on that estate who sorry. And there was a thought that a lot of people would need to be evacuated. And I know that our officers stepped up to the mark and took control of things. And in the event, only a few people were actually evacuated to Watton Sports Centre. But it could have been an awful lot worse. So please accept my thanks on behalf of the residents in the area for what our officers did. And when I read the email, and also Sam, thank you for phoning me to keep me up to date with what was going on. That was very, very useful. Thank you. And in the email I got, I did see that we paid for the teas and coffees at the sports centre, which does show that the generosity of this council knows no bounds. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Gilbert, and to ensure that it's a question, I'll give a response. Across our communities, the services the majority of our residents see is collecting those bins on a weekly basis. It's only when our communities face crisis or emergency or need support that they get in contact with the council, understand the breadth and the depth of the services we provide. And our emergency planning team is one of those elements, and for us, very sadly, ordnance is a well-rehearsed trodden path across the district, and I'm pleased that we were able to provide the support both to you and your community, but also to Councillor Crane and Councillor Bates' community as well. And of course, as colleagues have alluded to, as we look ahead over the Christmas period, we've got officers on call 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, ensuring that we're able to provide that support at a moment's notice, whether it is in relation to fires, flooding, ordnance or whatever else it is, to make sure that Breckland District Council is there when our residents need us most.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask the responsible member, please, if he can give any updates on ensuring the future of Thetford Hockey Club in our town. Does the Mugger progressing at planning on Tuesday?
Lasby, can you take that one?
Good morning. I've no further updates since the last time this was raised, but I'm more than happy to have a further conversation with you outside of the room with regards to the hockey club at Thetford.
Thank you. Obviously, there'll be a written reply with that if you need it from the councillor. Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is probably for Councillor Cohen, maybe. In May this year, this council received a grant of £213,000 for the Council Tax Support Fund. As of September, end of September, all of this funding apparently remained unspent. We cannot really believe there aren't households in this district that would welcome such support. And surely we can therefore take steps to advertise this support fund through our social media platforms and your Breckland magazine, which doesn't seem to have happened so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wickerson, and join with other members in wishing you very best of season's greetings. It's a shame you didn't ask me this before the meeting, because I could have given you chapter and verse. As you will probably know, we do advertise through the Revenues Partnership for people who need support. And at the moment, I can't give you chapter and verse on this one, but we will give you a written response to that. So if you will bear with me on that, I'm sure the team will be able to put that together for you. Thank you.
Yes, I'll ask the leader just to follow up on that.
Thanks. And away from Councillor Hewitt's, Councillor Clausen, sorry, Councillor Cowan, my P's muddled up this morning, area around Revs and Bens, you'll be aware that we've got dedicated money debt advice officers both in Dereham and Thetford. We've commissioned that through the Citizens Advice to ensure that there's impartiality, to make sure that they're holding us to account. And I know that Councillor Jeremy raised those concerns previously at last month's council meeting, and that Councillor Ashby is working with them to ensure that we're lifting the awareness of what the support residents can provide. So if you are aware of anybody across the patch, Councillor Wickerson, who does need money debt advice, who is in hardship, please make sure you use the relevant member pro forma, which provides all that detail, and our communities team and the money debt advice officers will reach out to them to give that support and advice and understand where they can get access, not just through our position of Revs and Bens, but also from DWP as well.
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to invite Councillor Sarah Taylor with her question, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Question for Cabinet Member for Property, please. Our questions in recent months relating to flooding have highlighted a great deal of confusion around landowners, riparian rights and responsibilities. Other authorities have officers to walk routes, identify blockages and identify and approach landowners to sort these matters out. Would Breckland consider such a role periodically through the year to stop some of our ongoing flooding issues? Thank you.
Yes. If it's a question to property, of course we would. But you will recognise, as is often actually made clear within this space, that land that sits in certain areas or geographies often is a challenge as to who actually owns it. Through part of our small sites disposal programme, we're trying to make sure that where we can, land that sits into a particular area should, if possible, belong to that area. But often we're having conversations with county, we're having conversations with flood authorities, we're having conversations with other bodies, trying to determine exactly who owns what and who is responsible for what within that area. It would be, I think often the easiest way of managing this process is to get parties together and just walk round. But absolutely, we actually do that anyway, certainly in the land that we own, and we will continue to try and encourage our partners to do the same.
Thank you. Any more members have a question? Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Chairman. Question for Tristan Ashby. Morning, Tristan. Last night, myself, Councillor Harvey and Stuart Terry had the pleasure of meeting with Thetford Dolphins at the Breckland Leisure Centre in Thetford, and it was wonderful to see so many people engaging in the pool at the leisure centre. It was busy, and it was genuinely really great to see. Thetford Dolphins, as I'm sure many sports clubs, are very concerned about their sustainability at the moment. At the beginning of this year, they had a 12.6% increase in their rent of the swimming pool at Thetford, and they've just been told on top of that from the 1st of January next year they're going to get a further 8.9%. They're now spending £45,000 a year to use the pool at Thetford. They're limited in the number of members that they can take because of physical capacity of how many people you can get in the pool and per lane and how often they're allowed to use it. So it's very difficult to pass all of that increase on to members. Breckland's invested heavily to Parkwood with pool covers, with LED lights and lots of public investment to help bring down costs, but these rents are still going up by significant amounts over and above RPI. So my question really is, what more can Breckland do to help groups like Thetford Dolphins ensure that they have a future? Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Terry. Thanks for the question. There have been conversations with regards to customers at the leisure centres and the cost, and you quite rightly identified the fact that we've got a management company in Parkwood that manage that process, so we're somewhat restricted as to the ability to negotiate costs directly with that, but more than happy to take that away and have a further conversation with you and other members and customers of the communities. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Matt Cambridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I direct my question to Cabinet Member Councillor Helen Crane. The current understanding is that food waste collections will become a legal requirement. Are the Council taking preparatory steps ahead of this, and have they assessed any financial impacts on the Council and its residents?
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, there are ongoing consultations regarding the implementation of the food waste collection. We haven't been given any figures or numbers of what the actual new burden funding will be, and as soon as I do know, I will let you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor. Any more members have a question?
I've got Councillor Land first, sorry.
Councillor Land.
I believe this is for Councillor Ashby again. Apologies for all the work we've done on you. Many residents of Thetford have been helped by the Household Support Fund, and people are in real hardship, especially with winter fuel bills hitting hard. Personally, I've lost count of how many of these referrals I've written up. Goes beyond dozens. In that respect, I'd offer huge thanks to both Sophie Soto and Jackie Dowling, who go about their work with real care and expertise. My question is, will the scheme resume in the new year, please?
Thanks very much for the question, Councillor Land. Happy Christmas to you too. In terms of the Household Support Fund, my understanding is that those conversations are still ongoing and further information will be provided as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll invite Councillor Clark for another question before I go back to members. Councillor Ashwell, another question?
Thank you. Another question for the leader, for Sam. Sam, in an article published in the Eastern Daily Press in February of this year, you're quoted as saying you're confident that Breckland Council would make a profit from any sale of Barn and Broom Golf and Country Club. Can you please confirm that if this property is sold, this council won't lose capital money, which could otherwise have been spent on important capital programmes for such things as housing, leisure and disabled facilities grants?
Thanks, Councillor Atwell. I'm sure that you're not naive enough to know that Your question is a below-the-line type question, because I would be indicating a response to an agenda item which is published for next Thursday, which is below the line in relation to those figures. So, as you're aware, you sit on the Commission and you're attending Cabinet. I'll be more than prepared to answer that question there. In relation to my quoted comment and response, which was published in the EDP, yes, I am still confident that this Council will have made a profit from that asset.
Thank you, Leader. Any other member who hasn't asked a question?
Richmond.
Councillor Richmond.
Thank you, Chairman. The first closure order for a shop selling illegal vapes was granted last week following a court hearing, the Green Shop on Norwich Street in Dereham. So it's a question for Councillor Helen Crane, if I may, please. Could she tell the Council how Breckland was involved in bringing about this closure, please?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. Yes, I'd actually like to thank all the officers who were involved. Our role really is a support one, supporting training standards and the police to bring this to a successful closure and end for the safety of our residents, especially the young people in our district. So I was very pleased with the outcome. Thank you.
Any more individuals who haven't asked a question would like to ask one?
Go back to Councillor Taylor.
No, I'll go back then to Councillor Sarah Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question for our Cabinet Member for Property, please. I was pleased to see the car parking surveys were completed in the summer as expected, and that the feasibility study that's associated with that work is due for completion in 2025, if I understand correctly. My view is that this is too long for our local businesses and residents to have uncertainty on this matter and any outcomes. Would an interim report be provided to at least set out initial findings, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to say that a feasibility report on our car park survey will not be issued in 2025. It will be issued in the first half of next year. So hopefully that should answer your question.
Thank you. Councillor Jeremy, another question?
Yep, question to Sam, please. Merry Christmas, Sam. Happy New Year. No doubt you'll be very happy because at some point there will be a general election. Happy for some, maybe. But what I wanted to ask Sam was about levelling up funding, and I was disappointed to see on the latest list from government Breckland not appearing when it comes to levelling up funding. Do you think it's at all likely that Breckland will receive levelling up funding before the next general election?
Thanks, Terry, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and your loved ones as well. In relation to levelling up, government was really clear working across 3 programmes of activity. Phase 1 and 2 was a bidding process, those bidding rounds in which this district council, I am confident, made immensely compelling cases for why we should have been successful and why we should have been able to draw down millions of pounds to help support residents and businesses to thrive. However, government felt that other areas had greater need for those schemes to move forward, and I congratulate those localities. I know it will make a massive difference, and the government has pumped in hundreds of millions of pounds to allow other parts of the country to level up. Round 3 came forward. There wasn't any bidding round. It was direct intervention. Government approached localities on their previous bids. My feedback to the government and via our MPs is that we think the data set and the matrix for what government is using is wrong. And I know that you and I have had those previous conversations around the evidence base on numerous occasions that actually we're too poor to be rich and too rich to be poor, and therefore for a district the size of us, that's not fair, and we need to work on a different type of metric set. I'm not aware through the autumn statement of any further funding for levelling up, but I'm sure that any party and all the main parties as we move forward into a general election in the next 40 months will be making statements around what they're going to do and under the new government when that is formed. And I look forward to working with any government, hopefully Conservative, to continue to deliver on its goodwill and activities across the country to level up for everybody in our communities.
Thank you. If there's no one else, I will go to Councillor Attewell for another question, and we only have 2 minutes 47 seconds left.
Thank you, Chairman. Another one for you, Sam. The 2024-25 budgeting process is well underway. I'd like to thank senior officers for the comprehensive briefing I and the leader of the Labour group recently received. I had hoped that by this time members would have received and debated the merits of the proposed corporate plan refresh. As you all know, the budget needs to reflect the aims of the corporate plan. When can we expect to see this in order to provide members with sufficient time to consider the draft budget and propose any suggested amendments?
Lovely, thank you, and I'm pleased that you and Councillor Clark welcome the briefing sessions. As you know, we'll move forward to that consultation required to do over that Christmas period before it moves into the scrutiny plan as well. The Chairman of the Scrutiny Commission has asked for the corporate plan before it goes live to come to his commission in the early part of 2024. That's been agreed with him and myself, so I look forward to myself and the Chief Executive presenting that. If there are any tweaks and changes required, as you know, it's a live document. As much as we set that vision and activity for the next 4 years, it isn't set in stone, and once this council agrees its budgeting principles, which your feedback and others in the early part of December has helped facilitate, we'll know how we can align the deck chairs accordingly to make sure we're continuing to deliver for residents and businesses.
Thank you very much, members. The session is now out of time. Very informative and interesting session as normal. So I'll move on now to item 8 on the agenda for today, and it's the minutes for information only. To note the minutes to Cabinet for the 27th of November. In your agenda pack, pages 11 to 20. Overview and Scrutiny Commission, 9th of November, pages 21 to 38. Planning Committee, 31st of October, pages 39 to 43. And Planning Committee, November 21, pages 44 to 50. Has anybody got any questions on those minutes, which I will allow? No? Okay, thank you very much. So I will move now on to item 9, the Local Government Boundary Commission Council Size Submission. Could I ask the leader, Councillor Chapman Allen, to present the report and then propose and quote the recommendations which can be found on page 51 of your agenda pack. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Chairman. Earlier in this year, the Local Government Boundary Commission for England advised Breckland Council that due to the electoral imbalance in a number of our wards that they would commence electoral review for the Breckland area. Members may remember that the Commission subsequently provided a full briefing to all members of this council after full council back in July of this year to explain how it would work, why it was required and the process we would then have to undertake. The first stage of that process is for the Commission to agree the number of councillors to represent the Breckland area, and they will make this judgment based on 3 broad areas: the governance arrangements of the council and how it makes and takes its decisions, the council's scrutiny functions relating to its own decision making and its responsibilities to outside bodies, the representational role of councillors within their local community. Part of this process, Chairman and members, requires the council to submit their own views of the optimum number of councillors required to effectively operate and represent their locality. A cross-party steering group of members, and I'd like to thank and place on record my thanks to Councillor Jeremy, Councillor Attewell, Councillor Borrett and Councillor Suggett, who formed that steering group, together with officers, have worked to develop this submission. Given the council's responsibilities, Chairman, the steering group considered that an increase to 51 councillors will give the council sufficient capacity to effectively operate its governance and decision-making arrangements, as well, Chairman, as providing the member electoral ratio that will deliver the most effective and efficient council for the benefit of residents and our communities. 51 members would also keep pace with the population growth we're seeing across the district in what is one of the fastest growing areas of the country and where the population has recently grown faster than the previous ONS data. ONS predictions. Members should be aware, Chairman, that the authority is obliged to assist the Boundary Commission with conducting this review and should be mindful that its submission is not agreed by the Boundary Commission. It may suggest their own council size to Breckland. Therefore, Chairman, I move the two recommendations that the Council approves the document on the council size attached to Annex A to the Council report and gives delegation to me as the leader of the Council to make any necessary changes or minor amendments to the document prior to submission to the Boundary Commission. And I'm happy to take any questions in relation to the report.
Any questions from any members? No? OK. Thank you. Could I have a second? Oh, sorry, Councillor Jeremy. A bit late on the...
Not a question as such, Chairman, but I'm happy to speak in support, and if Sam's happy, I'm happy to second the recommendation as well. As Sam mentioned, I took part in the discussions thus far. I think the officers have done a fantastic job, frankly, on top of all the other work they do. Suddenly we've got to do a boundary review as well, and there's a lot of work got into this and a lot of data that's been analysed. The fact is that it's very easy, frankly, to criticise councils. It's very easy to criticise council laws, but a good councillor is, frankly, worth their weight in gold. We've all seen our casework increase over the last few years. It's become much more complicated. We need far more briefing and training sessions and all sorts of different meetings than when I first joined the council way back when. And it is much more time consuming, and crucially our population has increased. And I think it's only right and proper that the size of the council increases to reflect that, so there's a fair and equitable distribution of the work involved. So I fully support the report that's been written, and I hope the Boundary Commission adopt it.
Thank you. You've heard that Councillor Germany will second the proposal. And there are two recommendations you've heard, and I would like to and ask you to vote for them. All in favour of the proposals, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Item 10 on the agenda, nominations for committees and other seats. Councillor Suggett, have you anything? No, thank you. Councillor Clark? No. Councillor Atterwill, have you any? No. OK, thank you very much. Item 11, amendments to the Constitution. I'm not aware of any. No, thank you, Councillor Bonnet. Item 12. Any other items which I decide are urgent? I don't think I have any. And so thank you very much for attending, ladies and gentlemen, this morning. Before I close the meeting, I would like to thank everyone who has taken the time to watch this meeting via YouTube, and also take the opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. And you heard earlier from our leader, if anyone has any difficulties and emergencies over Christmas, Breckland officers will be on standby, and all emergency numbers will be in the Breckland magazine that goes out to our residents, and also online and on social media. You can always find interaction on there with officers' emergency numbers. So I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and I'll close the meeting. Thank you.